Hello everyone. Wednesday, November the 2nd, the Feast of All Souls Day, commemoration of all the faithful departed. So today's the church suffering. Yesterday, it was the church triumphant. So important to cultivate devotion to the holy souls in purgatory, offer many suffrages for them, masses, sacrifices, acts of mortification for the holy souls. Unite everything, of course, to the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. The Mass itself is the sacrifice of Christ perpetuated in the Eucharistic offering. But all the other things we do united to the sacrifice of Christ, so they take on an infinite value when we do this. Okay, so the first reading is taken from Job. The readings are the same every year. For I know that my Redeemer lives, and that at the last he will stand upon the earth. And after my skin has been thus destroyed, then in my flesh I shall see God, whom I shall see on my side, and my eyes shall behold, and not another. So this is Job's hope. My Redeemer lives. I know that my Redeemer lives. It's really a beautiful prophecy pointing to the future, when in fact his Redeemer. Now Job would not have known this consciously. But if Job knew the future and was still speaking in his own language, what he would be referring to, my Redeemer lives, is that Christ would die and then he would live. He would come back to life. He would resurrect from the dead, raise himself from the dead, actually. So my Redeemer lives. Now, he probably is talking about the fact that he knows that God hears him. God is not deaf to his prayers. He doesn't understand why he's going through this suffering. But he trusts, ultimately when all is said and done, he may complain, but he trusts, and God knows that he trusts, that God actually knows what he's doing. So I know that my Redeemer lives, and I shall look upon him as we have been graced to look upon the human nature of Jesus Christ. Now looking back 2,000 years, we're looking upon it through images and so on. So that is the book of Job. Okay, over to the second reading. Two readings today plus the gospel. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, it's about the resurrection. Christ has been raised from the dead, and the first fruits of those who have died. Okay, so really, again, this whole chapter is really about the resurrection. The resurrection for us is the central teaching of the Catholic Christian faith. It's the hinge upon which everything else makes sense, the resurrection. If the resurrection were not true, you and I would be living our life just like the caveman, most likely. Even if we had, all these fancy devices like this is an iPhone, I'm doing this through our computers and so on, we'd still be living life essentially like the caveman, meaning we're born, we live, and we die, and we're dust, and that's it. For all the ideas that precede and proceed after the time of Christ, when it all boils down to it, there is not an eternal personal communion with God and a communion with each other. So, you're in this hazy place, you're part of the universe, pantheism. So, in my estimation, it's a bunch of hooey. And it's not really worth sacrificing one's whole life for it to be virtuous. So the resurrection is absolutely key. It's critical. So reflect on the resurrection often and how blessed you and I are that we know that Jesus has risen from the dead, and that it's something we should be praying for the grace to be faithful to, because one day it's going to be ours if we're faithful, if we persevere. Over to the gospel, John chapter 12, Jesus said, "The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Very truly I tell you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains just a single grain. But if it dies, it bears much fruit." This is when, the Greeks want to see him, and this is a trigger for our Lord that the passion is about to begin, because the ingathering of the Gentiles will occur. It's a signal that the Son of Man is going to die, so that all the scattered children of God may be reunited back into one family. So a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, and only then can it truly bear fruit, and that's you and me. It starts with Jesus, of course, because he is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, and he's the one who, in effect, kickstarts the whole resurrection. He's the one who gets it going. When he rises from the dead, he defeats death, and then he will communicate that power to us through the grace of the sacraments. So you and I have every reason to be truly grateful to what our Lord has done. So remember, pray for the holy souls in purgatory. Offer little sacrifices for them every day, especially throughout the season or throughout the month of November. Goes around, comes around. And they will be your absolute best friends when they get into heaven, see God face to face, and they'll remember all the people who prayed for them. God bless you.